Welcome to day 26 of my 30-day engagement. My name is Sean Aaron, he, him, his, and today's question is, what role does spirituality or ancestral connection play in your life? So before I get into this, I feel like it's necessary to kind of differentiate between the two. And so spirituality, so this is my own interpretation. You can Google it, you can ask Siri, you can do any of these things, right? But this is my own interpretation of it. And so to me, spirituality focuses on personal experiences and connection. So that could be prayer, that could be journaling, it can be connected with nature, it could be meditating. And so this is anything that deepens your own self-awareness, right, and your place in this plane or on this in this universe. And so religious is a structured belief that is held up amongst groups of people. And so that could be what, like, Catholicism, Christianity, any of these structured religions that we can think of, right? And so when I think of, I'm going to focus on more on spirituality than ancestral connection, because I feel like ancestral connection can be a very long conversation, because I'm really learning about my connection with ancestors and how I am able to conjure certain things. And just so that's a different topic for another day. If folks would like to have a conversation about that, drop some info in the comments section, and I don't mind plugging in and sharing my thoughts about ancestral connection and being in touch with spirits or anything like that. I'm open to that kind of conversation with folks if you want to get into that, right? Folks have their different beliefs on what they think ancestral connection means, right? Whether that's something that you do or feel internally, or whether that's something that's projected out, whether that's visits from ancestors or loved ones, or like median type of experiences. It could be a plethora of different things and what it means to you, and what you're able to and what not what you're able to bring, but what you're open to. And I feel like as children are more open to more of a things on an ancestral plane. I think that once you get older and you grow and you become jaded with the world, and you don't have your imaginary friend anymore, right? And like these different things, and as adults we don't tend to be open to certain experiences that I believe that exist. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about spirituality. And so when I think about spirituality, it is things that you do that focuses on your personal experiences and growth, and it deepens your self-awareness. And so spirituality plays a big role in my life because I do some of these things that I talked about. It's about meditating. I meditate often because my old self, when I'm thinking of religious, I just thought about something religious because I grew up in church. But it's like the old you is cast away. However that scripture or whatever goes. If anybody knows that, be sure to plug that into the comments. But I'm not a religious person. Now I will talk about why I'm not a religious person. I grew up in church as a child from the time I was 2 all the way up until the time I was 18. And my mom was very religious and very strict. So we spent 6 days out of the week at church. So I wasn't allowed to play outside as a child. Um, Probably because I lived in a rough neighborhood. That might have been one of the reasons why we weren't allowed to play outside. I wasn't allowed to really hang out with friends that were outside of my church circle friends. And so we would be at church Monday night for Bible study. Tuesday night, I don't know what was on Tuesday night, but we was there. Wednesday night was prayer. Thursday night was choir rehearsal. Friday night was something. I don't know why we was there, but it was something, always something. And then Saturday you got a break because you needed to be prepared for church on Sunday. And you had to be there at 9 o'clock because you had Sunday school. And I used to get, I'm kind of digressing, but I used to get so upset about Sunday school because it's like I'm go to school from Monday through Wednesday, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then I gotta come home. I gotta do all my chores. I got to do my homework. And then I gotta go to bed to go back and do the same thing again tomorrow. But then I gotta go to church that evening, right? And then Saturday is my only day. And then Sunday I gotta get up early and then get up early again on Monday. I felt like that was just so cruel to do to the children. I'm like, why we just can't go to church at 11? Why we gotta go at 9 for Sunday school? We just went to Bible class on Monday. Anyway, so my mother was always, if you ask my mom something, she'd be like, "What did the Lord say?" I'm like, "I don't know what he said. You tell me," right? So I'm not a religious person. And so what really separated me from religion and the belief of religion, it was two things. The first thing was when my mom kicked me out. And I felt like I was a child and you put your child into the world. Now your child is homeless. But what about this godly love that you've been teaching me about all my life? What about acceptance? What about grace? What would Jesus do? Right? All of these things. I felt betrayed. And I also felt betrayed by religion because you're teaching these people things. And I was upset at God because I was like, if God is with my mother and God allowed my mother to do this, then I don't want to have nothing to do with God. I don't want to have nothing to do with church. I don't want to have nothing to do with church people. I just don't want religion, period, at all. I don't believe in it. And that's it, right? Not to say that I don't believe in the messaging or some of the things that you can get out of religion that helps folks to be better people, but I just the structure of it and it was very rigid, right? And religion doesn't allow for nuances. And so I was like, I don't want religion. Have since unpacked some of those things, right? But I'm still kind of like, don't really trust it, right? And the second thing of why I'm not religious is because when I was in my early 20s, I watched this movie called The Village. And for folks who have not seen The Village, because it's a little old, go back and watch The Village. But pretty much The Village was about this group of people who took their family into the middle of the wilderness, built this town in this city of like old school, like horse and buggy type of old school, right? I don't want to say anything like Amish or anything like that because I don't know anything about those people to use them as a reference of other than what I see in movies or on TV. But this movie, the Village, they were living like it was the olden days, like 1800s, where straw houses and I don't know. I'm just giving an example. I can't remember. I haven't watched it in a long time. But anyway, they had this taboo that if you went outside of the gate of this place, of this village, there was like a boogeyman in the forest and they was gonna get you. So it kept everybody in this village. Long story short, did the boogie monster or the monster exist? I don't know. You gotta watch the movie. But it was my click of like, wait a minute. And I thought about it in the context of religion, that somebody can tell you anything and they put this perimeter around you and it's so rigid you can't step out of that, right? Or you condemned to hell. So it's based on fear, it's based on coercion, and it's based on whatever this person in the pulpit told you that's reading this Bible. I was a child, so I wasn't really reading the Bible. My mom said, "Go read the scripture." I'd be like, "Yeah, I read it," but I didn't really read it, right? And the only time I was really forced to read it was like in Bible study, or because they would make us read it out loud, or we had to answer questions about a scripture or whatever, right? But I don't know what it said. I was just going based on what my mom said. My mom was going based on what the pastor or the preacher said, and so it's that perimeter, right, of like not going outside of that. But my mind was awakened when I was homeless and I was out of my mother's eyesight, and I was able to grow up in a world and all of the things that my mom told me was bad, the people that I was told not to hang around with, that the church said that weren't good people that were going to hell. All of these things I learned that was not true. Some of the people who took me in or fed me or gave me things that I needed to survive were the same people that I was taught that I shouldn't be around them. And that's just like, for instance, I'm gonna give another kind of example. That's just like somebody being racist. They don't like black people, but then they go in community with a black person. I'm not gonna say black people because that maybe it'd be, if you racist and you around a group of black people, that might be overwhelming for your nervous system. So I'm gonna give that racist white person one black person. So you can go with this one black person and you go and you see their live and you're like, oh, they actually not all of those stereotypes that I was taught in my house, or they're not all of these things. They're not dangerous. They're not super predators. They're not all, on drugs or on welfare. I'm just giving examples of stereotypes of black folks, right? And so, and you learn differently. And so then that person be like, you know what? I don't believe all of these things that I was taught anymore. And now this person is my friend and I invite black people into my life and all this stuff, right? Okay. Long story short, that's why I don't believe in religion, because it doesn't give room to grow in space and make room for all the nuances. Now, if you're watching this and you're a religious person, I'm not saying that you can't be. I'm just giving, because this is my reflection series, I'm giving examples of why I have reservation around religion. Now, spirituality. Let's talk about that and what it plays in my life. And so I focus on things that provides me personal growth. And so some of the things that I do is I journal. That's how I practice spirituality. I ground myself. Um, I go out into nature. That's a part of my spirituality, being connected with something bigger than myself, right? A mountain, a tree, like a human being didn't create that. That was already here, right? And so that's tapping into a different area of outside of myself. And so being out there, breathing in the cool air, breathing in the clean air, seeing things here. One thing that I love is like hearing the wind blow through the trees, that sound that it makes, right? Like that is how I come back into myself, right? And so it deepens my awareness, it calms my spirit, and it makes me feel like I don't want to say one with a creator because that ties it to a religion, but it grounds me. I'm just gonna say that it grounds me. And so other things that I do is some of the other things that I do that are connected to spirituality is just, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I think about this question, and I appreciate somebody asking me this question, but when I think about the answer to this, I kind of really don't know. I feel like I'm still growing. I'm still learning I'm still unpacking the religious things that I learned, right? And some of the things that I held on to as I grew up, because it was just pounding into my head of what to do on a religious standpoint, that I actually, as I'm thinking about this and I'm like, and this reflection series is just that. It's a reflection series, right? It's a black trans experience, but it's about being vulnerable and it's about being open. So a lot of times I come here in the moment, I know the question for the day, and I just reflect in the moment, right? And so sometimes I have to think about this stuff of like, I actually don't know what that means for me, and so I'm even though at this recording I'm 44 years old, I'm still figuring out life, right? And as long as you hear physically, you have time to grow, you have time to learn, right? And this is about sharing my story and being vulnerable with folks and being open, but also inviting some feedback, right? And so it's like, what do you feel like is the difference between religion and spirituality? What are spiritual practices that you carry that you like, Sean, maybe you should try this, or Sean, maybe you should try that, or maybe this is good, or maybe that's good, right? But I want things that deepen my awareness of who I am and how I maneuver and carry myself out into the world. how I am with community, how I am able to take into spirituality that's going to heal me internally, right? And to be one with myself. And so I want to know, like, how do you connect with spirituality? How do you connect with ancestry? Like, please share with me, right? If you feel comfortable doing so. Let's start a dialogue about the differences between the two and practices that we use that tend to help us out that we can share with others, including sharing with me. So, once again, today is day 26 of 30 days. We got 4 more days to go. I want to say I appreciate you for rocking with me. You might have listened to this episode or another one, watched the video and said, Sean, I'm going to give you some feedback. So today is day 26 of my 30-day engagement. Thank you for rocking with me all this time. I appreciate you. We got 4 more days, y'all. Keep showing up with me, keep rocking with me, and let's build something special.